How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. We have another host of good bouts of information. Lots going on in the industry at the moment, so I thought we'd just get right in. My previous video was on the FTC, so if you haven't checked it out, please do. It will provide you with all the information you actually need. But in this video, we're going to be talking more about gaming, news, pretty much on a more overscale, and then we're also going to be looking at a bunch of comments that people are making that just make no sense. But let's start with this one over here. We're looking at Digital Foundry, and what Digital Foundry is saying is that the Xbox Series X is being underutilized, and this is because of the parity clause that the PlayStation 5 is imposing, which means that the actual capabilities of the Series X console is being held back by the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 is basically putting a parity clause, much like Microsoft have in place with the Series S, but in this occasion, if the Xbox Series X can actually outperform the PlayStation 5, there is a parity there stopping it from doing it, stopping it from actually utilizing tools within its arsenal that can actually make it better. Now, I've been saying this for quite some time. I've actually said this multiple times, that the Series X just is not being utilized, and it's now officially being confirmed by Digital Foundry, and they just don't understand why this is the case. They don't understand why that, Phil Spencer isn't going around asking these publishers why they are doing this and why they are not utilizing the Series X's full potential. Now, my assumption is once the PS5 Pro comes out, the Series X will then be able to shine and show its true self. But as long as these features are being handicapped on the Series X due to this parity clause, well, at the end of the day, we're really not getting the most out of our consoles. So on one side, it's really good to know that the Series X actually has a lot more horsepower in there to give. But on the other side, it's really sad to see that they are being hampered down, restricted by Sony because of this parity clause. I know both sides may eventually, or do it. Maybe Xbox did it during the 360 era with the PS3. I don't know. But at the same time, regardless of who does it, it's not right. If the machine has the capability to push further, be it the PS5 or the Series X, they should 100% be allowed to push further. At the end of the day, we bought these consoles with that power in mind, and being restricted because one side is crying that their machine isn't powerful enough, and then they have to handicap the other side and actually make their experience worse deliberately so they can actually shine. I think that's wrong, and Xbox should be going around and asking these questions because it's not right. It's not right. But you know what is right? In my previous video, I asked you for actually, I didn't even ask for a challenge in my previous video, but you still smashed it with over 250 likes. I think you hit almost 300 likes, and I normally ask for 250, so you smashed it. So in this video, I'm going to ask you for a nominal 250 likes. Let's see if we can smash that, and on with the video. So over here, it seems that the Bethesda situation isn't coming to an end. It looks like people are going to continue on, bashing on with Bethesda now that they are a Microsoft company. What is with people suddenly pretending Doom Eternal was shit? There was literally an entire side of Twitter dedicated to it for the better part of 2 years that it was impactful. And once again, this is coming from somebody whose favorite game is free. And now you can see, obviously this is not coming from anyone else but PlayStation fans. And you can see that, it was badass, and now the old Dooms are Chad. It's clear that anything now coming from Bethesda Studios is going to be seen as a slight. They're going to be, looking at this under the microscope. Why did Bethesda ruin Doom with the shitty Reddit game made for ADHD Zoomers? None of this was ever being said, right? Until recently. This is the Starfield effect. It starts with Starfield, and now it's going to cycle through every single Bethesda game that's going to come out. They are going to be constantly looking at it in ways to criticize. And honestly, it's pathetic, but I don't expect anything less from PlayStation fans. I absolutely don't. I actually expect them to get worse because honestly, that is just the sort of fans that they are. They don't actually praise games. And I know there are Xbox fans out there who also go out their way to do, you know, exactly the same thing. But the PlayStation fans just go just that step further. They never criticize. I mean, these people are going retrospective to games that were released just to attack them because they're part of Microsoft. It's just, it blows my mind how just, I don't even want to say it, but how just sad and just pathetic they are. They are. They really are. I mean, imagine going back retrospectively and saying, oh, the game that I was praising for so long, now that they're owned by Microsoft, is absolutely shite. And now I'm going to now go and praise and post pictures that the original Doom games were much better, man. It's like, piss off. And you can see over here from Gene Park, don't understand the sudden hate for Bethesda, creator of Skyrim, one of the most transformative and influential games ever made. I remember someone saying they're like Xbox's Naughty Dog, and now that feels true. Just an unnatural amount of venom for an excellent studio. And that's what it is, right? Because they are now a Microsoft studio, it's all venom. It's all hatred. How can you hate something so much? There's console warring, right? There's mocking. But then there is pure hatred. There's no room for that sort of thing in gaming, man. It's just a game. But Jesus. And that actually brings me in a good segue to here. So I'm not going to play this because there's actually a good chance that I can be demonetized. But what he's essentially saying here is, he's blaming Jez Corden for saying, didn't MBG build his channel from Xbox hate? And potentially, and now he's basically saying that he's pushing MBG to end his life. It's like, how can you make this statement? There's console warring. The guy puts himself out there. He gives as good as he gets. He made some really, really bad, like, out of touch statements, so people are going to mock him for it. Just like he turned around and was mocking Xbox fans when the original CMA thing was blocked. It's give and get. But now, this dude is over here trying to take the high ground, and I'm not even going to get into anything else from that, but he's trying to take the morally high ground and saying that people shouldn't do that, yet he does exactly the same thing. How is that even possible? Like, my dude, you've literally just accused Jez Corden of trying to end someone. That is wrong. What is wrong with this guy? He needs to stop playing games, he needs to stop these podcasts, and he needs to go see a shrink or something. Because clearly, everything is affecting him. Everything. And in my next story, which is this one over here, he says Cyberpunk is a bad game because it takes too long for an RPG to get started. Apparently a couple of hours playing a game to actually get, the story, the characters, and everything introduced and flowing is too long. The same thing with Starfield. He says it takes too long to get started. I don't know what it says about Baldur's Gate, but he is saying that, RPGs start slow and they shouldn't be starting slow. It should be thickened onto the action straight away. It's like he's never played an RPG. And he turns around and says, well, I'm the type of gamer now. No one gives a flying fuck what type of gamer you are, dude. Literally, no one here gives a flying fuck what type of gamer you are. Go be whatever fucking gamer you want to be. No one gives a shit. But to criticize Cyberpunk and criticize Starfield and Baldur's Gate because they start slow, this guy needs to get his head checked as well. Not this guy, I'm talking about Reforge. Alright, we come to Starfield, and there was a whole thing with Steam saying that, if people buy the game and then return it within the time, their reviews don't count. That's not the only thing we were talking about. Now, I did say yesterday that I did find a few more. Here's some over here, but I've also found a few more where people have spent 60 hours on the game and then just put not recommended because Microsoft. That's it. That was their reasoning, right? This person here spent almost 4 hours, no multiplayer. How is that even a review? This F is so boring. 2.5 hours. I mean, the game hasn't even started yet at that point. 1.75 hours. I mean, they're clearly not playing it. 2 hours. This is what they're talking about, right? This is what they're talking about. People already know and have been said in multiple reviews, the game has about a 4 or 5 hour start time. Everyone knows this. If you're not willing to deal with that, that's fine. But going into it knowing this and still coming out like this, that is review bombing, right? That is out and out review bombing, right? That is pretty much what it is. And those people denying that it is being review bombed, and at this point, it's old news because it's going to happen with every single Xbox game that comes out on PC now. Every single Bethesda game that comes out on PC now. It's just going to be a thing. Even Activision Blizzard. I can see COD now being derailed entirely. And the new system that Sony has put in place, where you have to physically buy the game and they don't offer you a refund before you can actually review it. Maybe this is what people want in the end, for companies like Steam and stuff to actively turn around and block refunds, or make it so you can only get a refund within half an hour of play. Because at that point, if you make a review within half an hour, you just won't be able to. And then add a criteria in there that you need to play the game for about 5 hours or get to a certain achievement point before you can review it. And Metacritic should do the same as well. But this whole review system, because of these, needs to be restructured. Because this doesn't just apply to Xbox, this will apply to PlayStation as well. You'll see their game getting review bombed as well the moment it jumps onto Steam. It's inevitable. So Steam really needs to sort this out. Same with Metacritic. Right, I actually am a big fan of Aztecross. I love his videos, I love his take, I love his enthusiasm, and I love the fact that he has, a no BS attitude. He will say it how it is. But this here let me down, right? This here let me down because he said personally Starfield has been the biggest letdown of 2023. And as I said here, how can you say this after playing Lightfall? Lightfall was arguably one of the worst pieces of garbage I have ever played in my life, right? It was absolutely pointlessly awful. And it continues to play awfully. They haven't improved it in any way, shape, or form. And I said, Jesus, dude, talk about pandering for clicks. Because this statement here, to me, is pandering for clicks. I respect the hell out of you, because I do. I really like his content. But this take after playing Lightfall is pure whack. Nothing beats the disappointment. I mean, even getting a new game and it not even booting. So basically, you bought a game and it's broken. The game just doesn't work. It doesn't boot. Is better than playing Lightfall. Lightfall was that bad. Lightfall is the worst experience in gaming I've ever had. It is beyond a joke. It's awful. I'd rather be playing Pong because at least Pong will give me something that it's advertised to give me. This was a complete mess. It was just awful. And I really hope that when Final Shape comes along, they will have learned from this and improved from this, because anyone that bought Lightfall, I feel sorry for. Because it was a waste of money. Pure and simple. And for him to come out and make a statement like this, I think it was purely for clicks. And, I'm disappointed in him personally. Not that my disappointment means anything to him. He's making a hell of a lot of money. But, as someone that watches his content, I'm disappointed. Because this statement here is purely pandering for clicks. I mean, this dude whose whole life evolves around Destiny was willing to quit Destiny because of how bad Lightfall was. It was so bad, and the state of Destiny got to a point of complete collapse. He released video after video talking about how Bungie were nickel and diming and trying to squeeze every last penny out of people. And they were no longer doing stuff for the community, for the players, but it was all about how quickly they could take money from your wallet. And then he's going to come out with a statement like this? Come on. No one can take that seriously. All right, so this one is actually a thing from Capcom. The Capcom exec says that raising unit prices is a healthy business model. And what they're saying is Capcom's president and chief operating officer has said he thinks game prices should go up. Haruho Tsujimoto made this comments at this year's Tokyo Game Show. Personally, I feel the game prices are too low, Tsujimoto said, citing increasing development costs and a need to increase wages. I mean, I totally get that, right? The cost of games is definitely way higher now than it was before. Development costs now are about 100 times more than they were during the Famicom era. This is correct, but you're also not paying for cartridges. You're also not having to produce as many physical disc copies now, because a lot of it is just stored on servers through Microsoft and Sony and wherever you store them for Steam. So there's a bit of give and take there. Cartridges are really expensive. You've also got, 100 times more, if maybe more. I mean, I'm just making that number up. But the amount of people that used to play games in the 80s, if you compare it to today, the difference is astronomical. So that's a hell of a lot more money coming in, right? You can't compare it to the Famicom days when, let's say, hypothetically 10,000 people were playing games compared to 10 million people today. Not only has your medium costs been reduced, but you're selling to a hell of a lot more players. And he says, but software prices haven't gone up to that extent, and they shouldn't need to because that cost is being subsidized. He explained there's also a need to raise wages in order to attract talent. Well, that's fair. The standard of living is increasing. Seeing as wages are rising in the industry as a whole, I think raising unit prices is a healthy business model too. So what you're saying is we're raising the prices of unit prices so you can't buy more games but buy the same number of games? Capcom is one of the publishers that's yet to jump on this bandwagon of $70. I think they should. I know they're currently at $60 over here, but I think they should jump onto the $70. I've got no problem with that. That's fine. That's going to become the industry standard. But as we saw, GTA want to increase it to $150. And if they actually go through with it, you can bet your bottom dollar that Capcom is going to follow straight with that, and so is all the other companies. However, with Tsujimoto's comments, it sounds like Capcom will start looking to increase the prices of its games. The increase to $70 has been heavily criticized by fans. It has, but at the end of the day, with a $10 increase, it means that I look at games differently. At £50, £60, I went and bought a game. Once it passes that kind of threshold and it hits that $70, $80, that's when I have to consider, do I want this? It's a psychological thing for sure, because it's only $10. But at the end of the day, once it's past that threshold, I have to question whether I want that game or whether I'm going to wait for a sale. And that's what these companies need to understand. There is that concept. And not everyone's wages are increasing. With the economic crisis in the UK, for example, prices haven't changed. People haven't had a pay rise in like 4 or 5 years, maybe more. I know people where I work who haven't had a pay rise for 7 years. So I think he's a bit out of touch there. iPhone 15 Pro version of Resident Evil 4 Remake will cost $60, £58. And I think this is a daylight robbery. I think this should be £40 at the maximum. Probably somewhere in the region of about $30. But at $60, I think they're pricing it wrong, and I think they are going the way of Stadia. If you do not price your games right, you are not going to sell. And when I told my brother, who actually bought the iPhone 15 Pro day one, about the cost of Resident Evil at £58, 60, well, I said 60 quid to him, he just laughed and said, nah, it's fine. I'll just go get it on a console that he already has. Done. Obviously, this is kind of like an add-on, but Apple want to take gaming seriously. Apple want to move into the games industry. This is not the way. This is the Stadia way, and we all saw how Stadia turned out. Finally, I want to end with this, and as you can see, an open letter to Sony PlayStation collecting community. And this over here is an open letter. Basically, a bunch of people like to buy their collectible figurines. Sony has ordered the IP factory to destroy every single item they have. Sony has taken the royalties for these items. They've taken the money, they've taken the royalties, they're not refunding that, and they're basically saying, right, you are not allowed to complete those orders. We are immediately requesting that you destroy everything that you have and cancel every order that you have. The company is now basically saying it's not our responsibility to refund the customers. You know, Sony has taken those royalties, so it's now down to Sony to get those royalties and the refunds and give it back. We are happy to fulfill the order. At the end of the day, it's Sony that's decided to do this. They've not really provided us with anything. We've had such a good relationship with them, and we're still, you know, trying to fulfill orders due to, you know, together we made it through COVID lockdowns, factory closures. It affected production of the Sly Cooper statue, the Kratos Norse bust, and caused countless delays with other statues and many other challenges. But it seems that you cannot change a decision of Sony PlayStation if the decision may hurt the Sony PlayStation collecting community. They've tried to argue against it, they've tried to support it, but at the end, they just couldn't win, and Sony has demanded everything be terminated. We remember Sony PlayStation's old tagline that they are for the players, but given their recent decision that they know adversely affects those in the collecting community willing to spend more on Sony PlayStation merchandise than an actual console, we are now not sure. Basically, it's not even for the payers at the end, it's just a big screw you. So they are still in business, the IP factory. They are still producing stuff and statues and figurines, but they just won't be doing anything for Sony PlayStation anymore. We have worked with Sony PlayStation for more than 10 years to bring you some of the best video game collectibles and have been trying to get them to change their mind. They know you have paid your hard-earned money for the items that are ready to ship to you. So these items are ready to ship, right? They are actually ready to ship. And Sony is preventing them from shipping the items that you've already paid for or that are in production. But unfortunately, after doing all we can, they have told us not to ship your orders to you. Our business priorities remain unchanged. A recent direct quote from Sony. Yes, this is Sony PlayStation's decision, not ours. Yes, Sony PlayStation has already received royalty payments from you on your orders that Sony PlayStation now wants us to destroy and not ship to you. So Sony basically came along and said, hey, we got your royalties, we got your money, we're out of here, buddy. And those orders that are ready to go, that are ready to ship, you're not shipping them either. We don't give you permission. You are to incinerate them right now. This is the Sony way. I mean, hopefully we'll get more news on this to see why they're doing this. Maybe there was a disagreement, a licensing agreement, whatever the cause. If the order is ready to ship, just ship the blasted thing. Let them send them out. Even if the other ones that aren't built yet, you can stop. But the ones that are ready, boxed, ready to ship, you're going to stop? Come on. That's just, that's bad. That's bad. Well, that's it, folks. That's the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. It was a long one. I said there's a lot to get through today. And hopefully you'll have enjoyed this video. We can hit that 250 likes. We are trying to get to 6,000 subs. Our milestone for the end of the year is 10,000 subs. Hopefully we can hit it. But, you know, even if we get to 6,000, 6,500 subs, I will be more than happy. Right, everyone? Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Remain legend.